Hello, everyone. This is Ko Vang. Thank you for coming back, watching another episode of Everybody Has a Story to Tell. And today I have a very special guest. And as you see on the screen here, her name is HOUA LOR. And she's married to an uncle of mine. And but we did not know each other until recently that her husband and I were related. But anyway, today I asked HOUA to just coming to share a little bit about her journey as a child, that she was born in the refugee camp, and share her story in America. So HOUA, thank you for taking your time out. I know that you are super, super busy. And the next 45 minutes, an hour, the audience gonna see and hear why you are super busy. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here today with you.
So shall we start? Shall we start on, because many of us were born in Laos. And you weren't born in Laos. Where were you born?
I was born in Ban Vinai. So I was born in one of the refugee camps. Yeah. My mom was actually pregnant with me when she crossed the Mekong River. So once we came into the refugee camp, that was where I was born. Yeah.
So you are truly a refugee baby.
Yeah, I am. I'm truly a refugee baby. Yes.
So I guess will be your journey. Maybe you. I don't know if you have visited Ban Vinai in the past, but is it one of your goal to visit Ban Vinai in the future?
I would like to go back to visit it, but as I've heard with many people, it's no longer there. Whatever is in the memory. I don't remember much of it because I was very, very young. I was born there. We were there for a year, and then we came to the U.S. And so, although I have the name that I was born in a refugee camp, I was raised on American soil. So I don't remember a lot of the refugee camp, but I would like to one day go back and visit and see what it was like. Yeah.
So you say you came to America when you were about 1 or 2?
I was one. But I was really sick. My brothers were telling me that I cried like a little cat. Nobody thought I was gonna live. They all thought I was like, like they all said, oh, she's probably never gonna make it. She's so skinny and she was really malnourished. But a lot of people who they see me nowadays, they go, oh my gosh, you're so big. Now you're we thought you were so this big.
What happened to that little child? Cry like a little cat, right? Kitty cat. So you technically you have no memories of Ban Vinai, so you grew up in Mecca here. What did your parents first came to? What state?
They came to Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
So you grew up over there. Your parents still at the time. Your parents still over there until what?
So we basically were there up until my brothers are still there. Both my parents have passed on, but my brothers are still there. Yeah, they're still in Oshkosh. A majority of my Lor family is in Oshkosh. So that was the small town that I was raised and I grew up in. Yeah.
What did you remember? Have your parents ever tell you about their story, their struggling coming to America?
They did. My dad was in the Vietnam War, and so when the war broke out, he told everybody. He told all my brothers. He said, if it comes to a point in time where if I sit down, it means that I give up. And you guys go, okay? You guys, all of you go, no matter what it is. If I sit, it means that I'm done. So all of you go. And there was a point in time where he did sit down because, you know, he only had one leg. And my mom, who was pregnant with me, carried him on her back.
You say he only had one leg?
Had one leg. Yeah.
What happened to the other one? How did it, what happened? Is due to the war or?
Yeah. So, nu oto ge nu chu to ilu lu te te ge nu tu sha ge.
Okay.
When we arrived in Thailand was when but when they were running from Laos to Thailand and crossing the Mekong River, he only had one leg, and he, you know, tried the best he could. And at one point, he did sit down. He sat down and he said, "Okay, I can't do this anymore. You guys go on. You know, whatever it is, you know, you go on. You know, and just, you know, do the best you can." And everybody said, "No, we'll carry you." And he said no. And so what my mom did was my mom carried him on her back while she was pregnant with me. And, you know, they crossed the Mekong River and arrived in Thailand. And, you know, a couple months later, she gave birth to me. And so, you know, when she was crossing the river, she was really afraid, you know, because Hmong culture have this thing where when you're pregnant, you don't want to go near water. And she was afraid that, you know, with her body being pregnant like that, she was going to lose her baby too. So she crossed the river without any thought in her mind that, you know, not telling anybody so that nothing could be heard.
Otherwise, they won't let her cross the river.
And so she just crossed. And when she got to the other side, you know, a couple of months later, she gave birth. And a lot of people say to me, "Oh, no wonder you're so, you know, like you're so hard and stubborn because you have, you know, heroic parents." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I think, you know, a big part of me, because they have that drive and knowing their story of what they gave up, that's really what pushes me to do everything that I need to do today. So that's a big part of my motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, not many people really, I hope the people who listen to you and me talk today, they really sit down with their parents, and many of our parents already passed away. I hope they take the chance and sit down, talk to them about their struggling, their journey to America. So I'm glad that you learn about how your parents left, you know, escaped Laos, because left, you know, in 1978. You say what year your parents left Laos?
It was 78. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the toughest time. Okay, if they would leave, if they would escape in the 75, 76, everybody, they would be just cross the river with a little canoe. But 78, many of them crossed by using a balloon or just what do they use?
Some of them use rafts, you know, like the bamboo rafts that just shown.
They built, yeah.
They built it, yeah. And so I mean, I feel like, you know, they were very lucky. And then of course you have those that didn't even make it across the river. So it's it was a time where even like when my parents, even when they were alive, when they were still living, if you ask them, it took them, you know, a while to be able to withhold all their emotion before they told you everything about it. And, you know, I encourage everybody to ask about this, about their elders. And it may take some time because a lot of the elders have been traumatized by this. You know, they were witnesses to their families being killed on the Mekong River and being orphaned, being widowed, being without husbands and sons. And so it's a past feeling that has traumatized them a lot. And even though they don't talk about it, though, it's a story that they still yearn to share with somebody close to them. So I do encourage you to ask. Yeah.
Well, besides that, because you are also a writer, you know, I think you should collect a few of those stories, other people's stories, and publish a book, something like that. I don't know. That's just come up of my thought here, because I interview, but I cannot write. I mean, it's not because I can't write, because I love to do interview, but writing is your expertise. You
Yeah,
publish a few books already. Maybe it is something for you to work on a few short stories. You know.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's jump a little bit. When you grow up, what did you do for fun when you you grow up and you're in teenager and all the things?
My parents were the really strict kind of parents. They were dad was the kind that was he was a shaman too, and he was one of the most respected elder among the family. And so he had a lot of things for me to follow, a lot of rules, rather a lot of regulations. And so it's like, okay, you're not allowed to do this, at that time if somebody wanted to date you, they came to your house and they didn't date you, they date your dad, right? They come in and they go, hey, my dad is here. You have to date my dad first. You got to get him to acknowledge and like you. And then, he can say, okay, yeah, my daughter is available for you. But if you don't pass my dad, you're bye-bye. So he was that kind of man, he was that kind of man where he had a lot of expectations for me. He had a lot of things that he wanted me to do. And so growing up, I had this like huge iron fist that was above me. Like, okay, I expect you to do this, I expect you to do that. And I was the type of person that college was better for me. High school and elementary, I suffered a lot because I didn't really know the language. There was a huge language barrier. I couldn't understand a lot of things that they were saying. Math was really hard. I hated math. I couldn't understand math at all.
Me too. I hated math too.
Yeah, and reading and writing came really easy. But then when it was like, okay, 2 + 2 was easy, but then when it got to 2 + 2 × 6, that was when my brain was like dead. And during that time, it was really hard because growing up in that era, you were also the translator for your parents because they didn't know English, and you went to school,
Even
you hardly knew, you hardly knew anything.
yeah.
But then they
Even when you were little, you already
yeah.
translate for your parents.
Yep, you were translating like bills and like letters that came in, and you had no idea what it meant, but you would just piece it together and hope that whatever you translated was right. And if it was wrong, they still had the whole thing of that. Oh, you don't you and you tried your best, but it was a really difficult time for me. And I grew up in that era where racism, was still very strong, where and you go there and you are different and you speak different, and you go to school, and instead of packing sandwiches, your parents pack more and then you take it out and they're like, what is that? And you're like, chicken. And then you said someone no, and then so it was one of those times where but I think nowadays it's for our kids growing up generation, they have it. To me, I think it's really much simpler because we've paved that path. We went through all that for them.
But in a way, our children, your children still young. I know some of your children are in much older already, but they really need to learn from our past, our experience, so they can they will appreciate and help them build their future. Otherwise, if they have no history for them to really look back, they say, how do we get here? Now, I know we have a lot of things to talk about it tonight. We're going to jump back and forth on these different subjects because you are so many, you have multitask, okay? You are multitask. So if the audience listening to us this morning, so be patient with us, because if you stay with me and for the next 30, 45 minutes, you're going to learn a lot of things from her. So those of you just tune in here, stay with us, because I want to say again before we continue our next subject. She's an author. She write book. She a movie director. She write screenplay. Also published 3 books, right?
Yes.
And stay-home mom, but a homeschool teacher to her children. So if you stay with us, you're gonna get to see how is this woman able to survive all day long. And by the time they hear how many children you have, I think they're gonna have heart attack. So they say, how do you handle that all day long? And you still be able to keep up your energy by the end of the day. So shall we start a little bit, talk about your in this case, so shall we talk a little bit about your writing?
Okay.
I know, can you say a little bit about the books you wrote? And then talk a little bit about what are you working on at the moment?
Okay. So I have 3 published books. My most current one is called The Saunaqing, and that one is published with Hmong Educational Resources, and it is available. If anybody is interested in that, you can feel free to message me. My first 2 is called Tomorrow Taki and Eclipse of the Heart, and those 2 published with Doran's publisher way early on in the beginning of my writing career. And I've always been somebody who loved writing. I love words. I'm a collector of words. So everywhere I go, I have this pen and paper where if I see a word or a quote or anything that makes me think or reflect, I write it down. And so I collect all those thoughts into journaling too. And I've been journaling since I've been about 8 years old, and I still have all my journal collection from when I was 8. And I journal from 8 till about right now, and I'm almost 40. So
you are only 40.
I'm almost 40. And so I keep all of those journals together with me, and I have about 60 journals where it's just like a recollection of my life, of what I go through. I date in there who I lost during this year, like in 1997, who I lost, what kind of family members I lost, who was born, who came into this world. And so I have all those collections, and it allows me to look back onto it and to reflect and to understand why that year, maybe why I was broken, why I had healed, or what made a significant change in my life. And so that's me in a nutshell with my writing. And writing to me is my way of releasing everything about myself. It's a safe place. I can be free to express myself, be as creative, be as dark, be as comical as I want, and I don't have to be afraid. So that's one of the reasons.
What's your next book? I didn't catch. What's your next book?
So right now I'm working on a memoir. It's called The Woman in the Mirror, A Shaman Journey. So it's a memoir journey about my awakening from when I awoke to the multiple chapters of what I went through, to raising my altar, to all the challenges that I faced, things that I've come across, healing clients, working on me, do we see ghosts, all those things I answered there. So it's a memoir about my personal journey as a shaman.
Yeah. Well, since we get to your memoir already, talk about shaman already. I know we did talk in the previous episode about your journey. Those of you watching this episode, you can always go to Tomorrow Hmong, find her. I'll talk previously about her journey in Hmong language, but can you share a little bit about your journey in English here, so for our English speakers can understand a little bit about your journey as a Hmong shaman?
Sure. So my shaman awakening was about 5 years ago. I've always had this gift when I was born. I just didn't realize I had it. I was born wearing a hat, really. So when my mom gave birth to me, I had this kind of covering on my head, and I didn't realize what it was until I started my journey. And that was when I realized that I was born wearing a shaman veil already. And it was from birth. And I've always been kind of like a black sheep among the family. I've been a little different. I would see things, I would, dream of things. I would be afraid of the dark. My dad was a shaman. And so I was always amazed by a lot of the rituals that he did. And every weekend he would go out, do his ritual, come back with the jaw of a pig and hang it on his altar. And at the end of the year, we would release it. And that's all I knew about shaman. And the elders, they don't really tell you what they see. And so I always thought that when you did a shaman ritual, you would see ghosts. So when I got my awakening, I was like, I don't want to see ghosts. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go and carry the jaw of a pig and hang it on my altar. And then at the end of the year, do that, because that was all I know. And then I realized that I was a little bit different from my father, you know, that every shaman is unique and you have your own gifts. And, you know, Jerry and I, we actually share the same seafood, the same master. And
you and I both, yes.
Yeah. And when I was ready, she disappeared in my life magically. And that has got me to always quote what I think of, what I always say is, when the student is ready, the master appears. And
So, speaking of seeing ghosts, have you experienced seeing any of it? Have you encountered?
oh yeah, oh yes.
Share some of your encounters so the audience say, did you really see ghosts? Because not many shamans will have the ability to see ghosts yet.
So for me, I see them when I'm training. When I'm training, I am the type of shaman that I do see under my veil. So, you know, when I'm deep in training, I see. It's kind of like a projector, you know, when they project a film and it's kind of like moving pretty fast. But there was one training in particular where I remember I woke up and I could still smell her rotting flesh. I could still smell the raw blood. And it was very early in my training. And I knew when I was going to go, when they would come take me, because I would hear like the striking like of a match. And then I would see flickering, lights flickering. Now, if somebody accidentally kicked me, I would wake up, I would lose connection. So what I always did was I would try to reach out and try to pinch one of my children so that they would kick and I would wake up. But on that particular night, my kids took over the bed and I ended up on the floor and I rolled away from my husband. And when I saw the lights flickering, I was like, oh no, they're coming. They're coming. Like, somebody wake me up. Like, I was trying to get somebody to wake me up and then nobody woke me up. And then
is that in your dream or is it in?
It was in my dream and I was training. Yep, I was training. And so they took me. I was literally there and I saw myself like get out of my body and go with this person. This person, it was a woman. She was very old. She wore all white and I went with her. And then she put me in this dark apartment with stairs that went down and it had a black hole. And it was just like echoes and all you could hear were like water drops dropping. And then all of a sudden, like deep down, like it echoed. And for those of you who, if you don't understand it, it just sounds like a cry for most, but for those who do understand, okay? And so I'm thinking,
for people to understand, is the crying at the funeral.
Yeah, the crying at the funeral.
It's very spooky, and you give you goosebumps.
Yes, it gives you goosebumps. And so I'm surrounded by doors. Like, there's all these doors, and I'm trying all the doors, and none of the doors open for me. And I hear the sound, and it's coming louder and louder and louder. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And so to backtrack on that before I go forward, I've always been afraid of I'm really afraid of those. And so and I'm thinking, okay, I need to get out of here before I see something like that. And so I reached to open a door, right? I reached to open a door and the door opens and I walk through and I close the door. And as soon as I turn around, she's right there, right in front of me, like right here. And and she's dressed exactly the funeral rites that I'm afraid of. And I have nowhere to run. The door's closed and everything just magically disappeared. And I'm standing there and she's right in front of me. And I could smell her, you know, everything that, you know, she has, her scent, everything. And I'm thinking, how do I get out of here? Like, how do I get out of here? And, you know, a voice was telling me, you need to get her story. get her story, and you can get out of here. And I was like, no, I'm not talking to her. Get me out of here. And they were like, yeah, you don't talk to her, you don't leave.
You
And
come here
so
to learn, you come here to collect her story and telling to others.
collect her story. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And she's there and she's talking to me, but I don't understand a word she's saying. And she has no hair, she has no eyes, her tongue's halfway out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, your worst fear is like right in front of you. Going, remember, my husband said that night that that when I was sleeping. And I was like, well, why didn't you wake me up if you heard me do that? And he was like, I don't know. It didn't occur to me to wake you up. But I did in that training, I did get her story. And as I was getting her story, her skin started shedding and she became human. And when she became human, it told me that, I did my job. I collected her story and now she can move on and I can go. And when I woke up from that, I could still smell all the blood. Like,
you give me chill already.
yeah, I could smell the blood. Like I could smell like, and I wanted to throw up because it was so deep in my throat, And I woke up and I like slapped my husband and he goes, what was that for? And I said, why didn't you wake me up? And he goes, well, I didn't know what was going on. But I didn't think that it was anything. So I told him what happened and he said, I'm sorry, but I didn't realize that I needed to wake you up, but maybe they told me not to wake you up. And so that's why I slept so peacefully. So, but yeah, that was one of my experiences and it was crazy, but I did overcome that. I overcame that. So I overcame that fear. Yeah.
So now, since you are taking your spiritual journey, how busy are you?
I am very busy, very busy. Last month I did 60 readings.
60 readings.
Yeah, I did
two a day.
Yep.
So 2 a days, how many minutes you spend with one?
I give each client an hour. So I have an hour with each client. Yeah.
Well, just in case some people say, well, I got problems, I want to talk to you. What kind of donation? They say, can they call you and ask for help and send you donation or something like that?
So right now I am booked all the way through to November, to the end of November. Yes. So I'm not taking appointments for this year. And then December is when I release my guides. And so I'm not taking appointments. I have a waiting list. So if you want to have a reading with me, you can message me and put you on my waiting list. I can't tell you how long that's going to be because there's a good amount of people ahead already. I don't charge any fee. Donations will only be the ones that I ask of you, donations. Even if you don't give any donation, I will still read for you. And I don't give out my PayPal to you unless you ask for it. So, that's how I work. And so if you are looking for, like a reading to help clarify something for you that is not immediate intention and you are okay being put on a waiting list, you can feel free to message me.
Well, I hope the audience hear your story because you've totally booked until November?
Yeah, I'm till the end of November. Yeah.
The end of November. You done more reading than me the last 8 years in 1 month. I think your healing, you complete more trainings than me. Oh. Well, we all have different journey, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And those over here, why we talk about this, and we talk about spiritual healing, and as you see, she's a shaman, a spiritual healer. And those of you who are not Hmong and happen to watch our talk today, Hmong have a long history of a shaman practice, a shamanism practice. So if any of you need help, and feel free to contact her. Now, of course, I will give you your Facebook link on the YouTube description. Now,
Yes.
I know that you did a lot of healings. I have two questions for you, then we move to different subjects. But one question is, have you done many readings for non-Hmong?
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have. I've done quite a few. I am a shapeshifter, so I take the form of whatever it is I come into contact with. And I don't have Native American guides. But there was one time where I connected with a Native American spirit, and I was able to sing Native American spirit. And so that was amazing. Yeah.
I would love to see you videotape yourself. So I would like to see how you chanted in Native American Indian.
I think that was the one time that my husband was so, like, he was just so mesmerized that he forgot to record my session. Mostly I record a lot of my sessions just for myself to see how I grow and to see how it is that I grow from beginning, and my sessions from the very beginning of how my growth and my journey has been and how I've progressed. And so and those are things that I, when I look back on it, and if I'm having doubt in myself, or if I have a day where I'm feeling down, and I look at that, and then I realize how much I've actually succeeded in a lot of my barriers.
So my next question about spiritual healing is that what are the most people, when they come to see you, what are their most concerns that you discover? Are you?
So I do a lot of mentorship with healing, healing, especially with shamans who are awakening. And I speak a lot with individuals who are beginning their journey, who are very broken, who come from a very damaged past. And I help a lot with teaching them on how to first discover forgiveness in themselves in order for them to move on. I have this really strict policy within myself that anybody who is seeking mentorship with me to really first discover themselves, to work on forgiving, so that when you begin your journey, it's not broken. And one of the main things that I always tell a lot of people is that if you are somebody who is not healed, there's absolutely no way that you can try to heal somebody else.
Exactly. You can't heal others when you can't heal yourself.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Audience, you probably you know that when I talk about her spiritual journey, I know that she's already busy, and if you saw her on Facebook, she's super busy. She do a lot of free reading. Now we'll jump to your daily life. You are a lady, a housewife. You are multitask. Okay. Now you're writing books. We're not even talking about writing your screenplay yet, or your movie yet. Well, now we jump to shamanism, your spiritual journey every day. I will talk about your daily. And I heard and I saw you do homeschool for your children. Now, can you tell the audience how many children you have?
Yes, I have 7 children.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's 7 children. I homeschool 4 of them. So my oldest is a college student, and then I homeschool the 7th grader, the 5th grader, the 2nd grader, and then the kindergarten. And then I have a 3-year-old and then a newborn who is 6 months. So those are my kids. Those are my blessings. And yeah, I homeschool them. And so every day we have this routine where we get up, and right before I was going to talk to you here, I just got done doing the curriculum for the week. So making sure that I had all the week set out correcting all their homework and putting projects that I wanted them to do Monday through Friday for this coming week. And so that's a daily task that I set for Sunday. And yeah, but homeschooling is what I do at home. And why do I do that is because I am, not only am I somebody who believes that, you know, a good start comes from home, but with the pandemic, I'm also very afraid of sending my kids to school outside of home and then receiving a letter saying that your child has been exposed to somebody with COVID. And I think that's one of the worst fears because, you know, the vaccine is not available for little kids yet. And, you know, I think every parent out there, even when we send our kids to public school, we still always have that fear that we want to make sure that they are protected, that they're safe.
I know that you recently moved to Pennsylvania. You have been living in the Twin Cities for many years, and because your husband landed a job in Pennsylvania, so you recently moved there. And now, and because you are there mostly by I know that in Pennsylvania, not a lot of Hmong over there, okay? And homeschooling, teaching your children. And I saw on your Facebook, you did some teaching to your children about Hmong culture, Hmong spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Now, not many people are doing that. Okay, not many people are doing that. And the role of teaching the spiritual and Hmong culture, it usually falls on the husband. But you include this into your teaching curriculum. Can you share this little bit to our audience today?
Yes. Every Friday is Hmong Culture Day. So they actually have Hmong language Monday and Wednesday. So Monday and Wednesday, we do Hmong language where we write in Hmong, we speak in Hmong. Everything is in Hmong. So it's like
no English.
No English. And so it's like, you know, every day we wake up, we write out, you know, what is your name? And then on Fridays is Hmong Culture Day. And on Hmong Culture Day, I teach them the basics about, you know, the shaman practice, how to move toy to zineng. What are the tools that a shaman uses? Why do we use those? Why it's important? Why we have an altar. And then we also talk about like weddings. What happens there? Who's involved? And and so I implement all of that into the Hmong Culture Day. And when it comes to the shaman side of the practice, I do all of that. I teach all of that because I'm more knowledgeable in that. But when it comes to like you get out and you get and then my
how
husband,
do you pour the alcohol? How to do the wine? Yeah.
So there's a rule where when you're sitting at the table, if they pour a certain way, you got to be able to pour the same way and hand it over the same way. And so that was one of the teaching for last week. And my boys got a taste of that. We were practicing with water. And you know, they were making mistakes, and my husband said, "Oh, okay, you know, you got to drink that because you made a mistake." And he had like 4 or 5 cups of water, and he goes, "Man, if that was real alcohol, I would be like, I would, what you doing, your dad." So I think it's really important to teach the children from a very young age, girl or boy, the importance of our rituals, the importance of our culture, our traditions. Because if we don't, pretty soon what's going to happen is we're going to end up paying somebody to teach our children if we don't keep that tradition alive. Even nowadays where, you know, a lot of the young kids, they don't understand the Hmong language anymore, or they can't speak it. So what happens is they have to go pay somebody to teach their kids. And, you know, if you keep that tradition alive, or if you practice it, or if you research it, and if you self-teach yourself and then teach your kids, it's going to create that long relationship, that why we keep our culture alive, why it's beautiful, why we do things a certain way. instead of thinking that our culture is bad, or all the stuff that we do with our funerals, it's not necessary. When we know why, or the history why we do it and the reason, then it becomes something that is valuable to us.
Well, I assume that you have that curriculum, so in the future you can share to the audience how you teach them. Maybe we'll do another future episode how you teach them, so everybody can learn from you in being class with your children.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me. They've been asking me to go live when I teach it, and I was telling a lot of my followers that because I'm so busy with readings in the month of this month and next month, in December I'm releasing my guide, so I'm free, and I'll host a live, and I'll teach just the basics, the very basics of what I know. I don't know everything. I'm not, an expert in everything. Some people, they do teach their kids a certain way. And, if you teach a certain way, if you come and watch me, you might think my way is wrong, but, it's what we teach with what we know. And so this is just like the basics that I know. And I was planning on hosting a live on my page to kind of have this class where I'll, show everybody what the curriculum of Hmong culture is like with my kids.
All right, it's going to come to our last topic. And those of you here were, when I have been talking the last 30 minutes, she's an author, she's a movie a screenwriter, she produced one movie already, and still produce more movie coming up. And she is a busy spiritual healer and a homeschooling teacher teaching our children. Now we're going to come to the last part. What? How do you make money? because people are going to say, okay, you are that busy. Okay, where's the money? Okay, writing a book won't make you a fortune. Mm-hmm. Writing a book is just your passion. Maybe if you make enough money to pay for the cost of printing, that would be best, right? And mm-hmm. Being a shaman, you do not ask for any set or fee, unless they insist giving you some donation that you are willing to give them your PayPal. Mm-hmm. And homeschooling, the school don't pay you to teach your kids.
No.
I know the husband working. I know he has a good job. But you need your own money too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do you make money? By the end of the day, do you have time to earn money?
I do, actually. On top of all of that, I do. I own a boutique shop. Mm-hmm. So my boutique shop is catered for women of every size, every walk of life, every status. And it's called Kaw Boutique. And Kaw Boutique stands for my girls' names. So it's KAW, and it stands for Karina Azalea Wisteria. And Boutique, my mission is to create an ageless adventure for any size. It doesn't matter what size you are, how big, small, how old you are, what kind of career you have. I have everything that's available for you, from shoes to clothing to jewelry to the look that you need to satisfy the life that you lead. So that's how I make my money.
But the question is, if I put myself in the audience situation, hearing your story the last 45 minutes, how do you find time to do your business? When you do 2 appointments a day, healing appointments per day, you're homeschooling, teaching your 4 children, right? 4, right? Mm-hmm. And you still prepare the lesson plans for the rest of the week. And you're a housewife, you still cook. Mm-hmm. You're not a queen. Just somebody got to cook.
Yes.
You don't have a chef at home to cook for you. And people listen to you and I talk today, they're gonna say, how does she find time? I know she has the talent, she has skills, but from morning, get the children, some of them sending to school, okay? You prepare getting someone going to school bus, they're going to school, and then you came back doing breakfast for the one they're going to go to school. You teach them. By the end of the day, aren't you exhausted? And then you still have your readings, I mean, spiritual readings for 1 or 2 hours.
Yes.
And you still do your writing too. Okay, writing your books. Again, we haven't even get to about writing your screenplay yet. So how do you find time? When do you do your business? How do you find time?
Time management. So for me, I'm always a day ahead. I train myself to work on all my advertisements, all my marketing, all my social media. I have all those done a day ahead. So like today's Sunday, I've created everything from Monday already. And by Monday, it's scheduled to release by itself. And on Monday, I work on Tuesday. So by Tuesday, I'm working on Wednesday. So I'm a day ahead. When the children are working on independent study, that's when I take a break to check my messages. And I get a ton of messages a day. 40 is like the 40, okay? It's like, and I look through that. When the kids are working on independent study, I do that. When inventory comes in, I set in a time and I say, okay, I know exactly when inventory is coming. It's coming on this day. It's scheduled to come on this day. Kids are done with school by 2 o'clock. 3 to 4 is my 1 hour. I get everything done there. 4 to 5, that's when I work on dinner. And husband comes home, dinner's eaten, and then it's reading. And from there on, after I'm done with reading, from 9 to about 1 in the morning is when I work on everything. Do I sleep? The answer is no, I don't. And, I try, if I'm really lucky, I can get in about 4 hours of sleep a day. And, I can run on that, my body runs on that. But, I always make sure that I still take care of myself. And so when I need a break, I tell myself I'm taking a break. And it doesn't matter if things are not done, I will take a break. If I have to reschedule something with somebody, I will reschedule something with somebody. So it's very important to understand your limitation, your motivation, your drive. And you have to understand that the way how I work may not be the way how you work. And I can't work with how you work either. So it goes both ways. The most important part is to remember your why, your reason, why you do this. And when you always remember that and you have that in the back of your head, no matter what it is that you do, is it time management? Is it business? Is it marketing? Is it being a stay-at-home mom, a passion, whatever it is that you have, you'll always be on top of the game. So that's one thing that I have to, my advice for everybody. Yeah.
Well, as you're talking here, something is going off here. Say, I would like to, maybe next time, I would like to have Uncle go come and talk, saying, how the hell you find time to take some time away from your wife because she's so busy?
We have our days, I call them midnight date with, okay. So when all the kids are asleep, it's, me and him, and then it's our date night. And we talk about our day, and it's still very important to me to have family time. And for me, I don't do all of those 7 days a week. I do my shaman reading, my business, Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday is entirely family. I focus on that. And it's really important to me to remember to love what is within my home. And it starts from there. If I want to have a very strong union with my husband, a very strong relationship with my family, it begins within the home. So, Saturdays and weekends, I don't do much with, shaman reading. I don't do much with the business. It's all entirely focused on my kids and my husband. And so I think it's important to always have that balance in between. So exactly how much time you are giving to each other, to whatever it is that you are focused on. And I have this saying where I say, chase your dreams, but don't forget to chase each other.
Well, I think you give me some encouragement to get away from the Twin Cities here.
Yeah, come visit me so we can go see the mountains. Yeah.
You see, living in the Twin Cities here, we have too many, even though I hardly go to community events, but I always feel like I'm so busy. But if you, when you are living so far away, like you in Pennsylvania, then you don't feel you don't have the pressure when people invite you go to the event and you don't have time to show up. So you can really make your schedule on the weekends. No?
Yes.
Maybe it's about time for me to get away from the Twin Cities here too soon. But I honestly, I would not move to Pennsylvania because I've been there too many times. My sister lived in Allentown, and I visited her a few times, and I told her that I said, sis, if I ever move to live with you here, I will go crazy. Because I'm a people person, even though Pennsylvania in that part of town is so quiet at night.
Yes.
So quiet at night, you don't see many cars on the road. So I told her that I wouldn't want to live in there, but maybe a little bit different in your part of town. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit different here. I've been through to Allentown. It's a little bit smaller than the town that I am in, but I think moving from such a fast-paced life that we had in the Twin Cities to coming here to where everything is more simpler, it just kind of reminds me that I need to reflect on what is really important to me. And I think it's a time where, for everybody to think too, when you're a little kid and you're growing up and your father or your mother never has time for you, and you always think, oh, why doesn't my dad have time for me? Why doesn't my mom have time for me? And then you grow up and you become a man or the man of the house, and mong mo lo te thầu lo to ka shin lo to ye lo nu ka to chmo tu ka lo na. You have to go help everybody, and then your son says the same thing to you as you used to say to your dad. And then this is when you understand why your father had to do that, why your father had to go. And it's a reflection on that. But I also want to remind everybody that before you go and you give all of yourself to the community, to make sure that you give a bigger part of you to the people who's inside your home, so that even if the community praises you and they say that you are a wonderful person, that your children don't look at you as a stranger, that you and your spouse are still a very strong union.
All right, thank you again. Thank you for taking time, sharing your daily works and your journey since we talked last two episodes. I know this is only beginning. We will have more talks coming up.
Yes.
Certainly. I hope that you open more for talk in the future when you about to finish your book or your next movie you're gonna write.
Yes.
Whatever coming up, I will follow you on your Facebook, and when it's time, I will call you, say, well, it's about time to do another episode. So here, the last few minutes here, do you have any message you want to give to people out there who are watching our talk today? Anything come to your mind that you want to give out?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, Jer, for always having me on your shows. I think that what you are doing is incredible because you are sharing with everyone the importance of having a story, and everybody has a story to tell, no matter if it's, impacted just very little people or if it can impact a large amount of people. We have silent watchers who suffer by themselves, and hearing something like this is a way for them to find motivation, to find the inspiration to live. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for sharing all of our stories. It's very important to capture that. Our Hmong culture has always been more of like a verbal passing down stories. And so when our elders pass on, we don't have anything written down. And I think it's very important to start doing that. to have that recorded, to have it written down so that we have something to look back and reflect upon. In summation, I want to remind everybody that no matter what it is that you do, even if it's, you know, your business, your life, your marriage, to never be unfaithful to yourself, to always stay true, to be honest with you, to yourself, to your business, to your spouse, to your children, and to live and remember that we all have just a moment to capture everything. And if we are smart enough and we are brave enough, that moment is really all we need to really make our life the best. So thank you for watching.
Thank you for coming here. So look forward for another talk in the future. I know it's late. The kids are already asleep. And good night from Minnesota.
Good night from the East Coast. Thank you.